Rudi Giuliani. Mayor, it's great to see you. I have to ask you, I keep hearing this narrative over and over again that there was no voter fraud in this election, yet we're being slapped in the face with evidence of voter fraud. I mean, these aren't just random people that are just saying things. These people signed affidavits, and they have a lot to lose if they're lying.
I'd say right now, Stephanie, there are 700 affidavits from 5 states that involve eyewitness testimony to acts of fraud played out by the Biden people and the Democrats, and 300 more that raise very, very substantial doubts. 5 very, very well-regarded studies that prove that the machines were misused and that the vote was miscounted. And now an eyewitness, remarkable tape that you don't get in most cases. I mean, this is like a bank robbery case. All of a sudden at 3 o'clock in the morning, when they get rid of the Republicans and everybody else, the ballots get taken out from under a table that was there all day, hidden there all day. And then they furiously start counting it, and they come up with at least, I did a calculation of it, they come up with at least 60,000 new votes, which is more than the margin of victory.
Yeah, so Mayor, you're saying that they didn't just have some vacation clothes in those suitcases and they weren't going to just take off on a jet on a trip somewhere?
Not unless they wear paper.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mayor, we were told that this was like the most secure election in U.S. history by officials. What do you say to them?
Either they are the most incompetent officials we've ever had, or they're in bed with Dominion and the phony companies who are involved in getting paid millions to help Biden win.
Yeah, I guess
this was by far, without any doubt, the election that was had the most fraud involved in it than any that I can recall in American history. And now with the tape, I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. There you have it. I mean, they're counting the votes all day. First of all, if you look at the room, the observers are a football field away from what they're supposed to be observing. So all day they weren't able to observe any of the ballots. So there could have been 200,000 phony ballots put in during the day. Then they got everybody out. They told them it was closed down. You can see it closed down. And all of a sudden, the lady who originally brought the ballots in at 8:30 in the morning and put them under this table with a black cloth on it, which looks like a hearse, by the way, she and this other guy start pulling out reams and reams of ballots and furiously handing it to the counters and pointing at them like, get that counted quickly, get that counted quickly. So we figure there are 3,000 per hour. There were 5 machines doing it. And that would give you bare minimum 30,000 illegal votes, which is way over the 10,000 that Biden won by. There's also 196,000 votes, mail-in votes, for which there's no evidence they were ever received. Yeah. In other words, when a mail-in vote comes in, you note the serial number. Well, these votes did not come in that way. They came in over the transom, I guess, or they were handed to somebody on the highway, or maybe those are the ones that were under the table being hidden all day. You know, Stephanie, that they're not going to count legitimate votes by what you see on that video. That you're counting totally, blatantly false votes if you're going through the trouble of doing it at 1:30 in the morning and throwing everybody out.
Yeah, Mayor, explain how you guys got the video, because it just came out the other day, and I know people had been requesting it. So why was it so difficult for you guys to get your hands on these videos?
Because they're being covered up. Everything's being covered up. They want to know why we haven't made progress. We've made unbelievable progress, given the fact that we have no subpoena power. We have everybody covering us up. The networks cover it up. A lot of law enforcement covers it up.
I looked at the tapes of that, and it was like worse than the raid that they did on El Chapo many years ago. It's really incredible how they treat people in the Trump orbit. And you're right, Mayor. The question is, where is the DOJ?
Look what happens when they have a bank heist. This looks like a bank heist. If you don't move immediately on this, I don't know why you're the FBI.
Yeah, and so
I mean, there's no doubt about this. There's no doubt they're counting phony ballots. You don't do it at 2:30 in the morning and throw everybody out.
So you believe
we'd have to be foolish to think it was any other purpose to it.
Yeah.
So now go get those. They waited too long already, but you never know. They may have left something behind. Everything should have been confiscated. Everything should have been seized. course, it should have been done 2 weeks ago.
So
But we don't have an FBI.
Yeah, and so the FBI is not doing anything looking into voter fraud right now, is what you're saying.
Well, I just don't know. I did this work for 17 years. I can't imagine not jumping on that within 2 minutes of seeing it.
Yeah, it must be really frustrating to have all of this evidence and witnesses that are willing to come forward or have come forward, and nothing's really being done. And you've been around from state to state. I watched the Michigan hearing, I watched the Arizona hearing, watched the Georgia hearing, many hours. What do you think are the biggest takeaways? And then what are the next steps? Will you continue to do election hearings? It feels like we're running out of time.
The next step is to pray to God to give some of our Republican members courage. To have courage to respond to the chicanery and stealing of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party takes advantage of us because they feel we're suckers. And I sat there in Michigan and I watched these Republican legislators so pained, finding it so difficult to do what they have to do. You know, sometimes in this government, you're the one that's called upon to make the difficult decision. The Constitution of the United States puts the finger on the state legislature. Under Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution, there's evidence now that every one of these state legislatures should have a special session, call these witnesses, put them under oath. Each one of them can make a finding that Biden lost that vote by well over hundreds of thousands of votes. I mean, Georgia it's a one-day hearing. Those votes alone disqualified Biden. Right there. That's it. Gone. He didn't win Georgia.
Yeah. How concerned are you about the Georgia Senate runoff? So there was a Stop the Steal rally the other day, and attorney Lynn Wood, who's one of President Trump's attorneys, he's been a Trump supporter, if you will. He was under fire for suggesting Republicans shouldn't even go out to vote. I think that's a bad move, but I can see where he's coming from is that there's frustration that there was voter fraud in Georgia. Nothing's being done. A lot of the Republicans have abandoned President Trump in this, and a lot of people are wondering if their vote's going to count. What's your reaction to what he said at the Stop the Steal rally?
I don't think Lynn should have said that. I think people should vote for the two Republicans in that race to save us from the devastation of what the Democrats want to do to us, which is to make us a socialist country, to increase our taxes to 70 or 80%, to give money away to Iran, to endanger our security in North Korea, and to put a total incompetent in the White House, a man who probably is going to be out within 2 years based on dementia. I mean, of course, they should vote for these two Republicans. On the other hand, I can understand the frustration of the Republicans. They feel they're being double-crossed by the professional Republicans. They feel, and they know now, they voted for Donald Trump. And the professional Republicans don't have the guts to stand up and say that. And Professor Eastman told them last night, bluntly, you've got the power to do it. You've got the evidence to do it. The ball is in your court. And now the question is, do you have the will to do it?
Yeah.
And I am praying that they do. I'm praying that they have the will to do it. I mean, courage is a rare commodity, but it's probably the thing that God rewards the most.
Yeah, and you know a lot about courage because you took down the mob, and now we have you here exposing the voter fraud happening in states, in the battleground states across the country. Well, Mayor, we're gonna have to leave it here. Yeah. We appreciate you.
I'll give the governor one piece of advice on how to win that state. Call a special election, have 2 days of hearings. And if you agree that this vote went to Trump, award the electors to Trump. Yeah. They'll win by 70%.
Yeah. Again, it's really hard to wrap your mind around Biden winning an election. He didn't even leave his basement. 70% of Republicans don't believe this was a free and fair election. Even 30% of Democrats don't believe it was fair. And you think about him and the rallies that he held, he could hardly get like 20 people there. It's really hard to believe that he got some 80 million votes. I'm not buying it.